For those who do not know the One Tab extension, it's called One Tab. If you use Chrome, and I am a Chrome user, One Tab is an extension that you can put on there. And if you have 20 tabs open and you can't think straight and you don't know what to do, and your tech-savvy son looks over your shoulder and calls you insane, you can use the One Tab extension. You just click it, it collapses them all. It's in case you still think they're super important and you'll get back there eventually, it sets them away and saves them for you later. And it's the easiest thing ever to go back and open the ones that truly were important to you. But it cleans up your browser and makes it so that you can think more clearly and get more done. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. I think today we're talking about time-saving hacks for busy realtors. Where do you want to start with that subject?
Gosh, I was just going to jump right in. I feel like the topic speaks for itself. I'm hoping, as busy a man as you are, that you have a few time-saving.
Well, we're about to find out.
All right. Okay. Well, I have the big rocks, and then I have some little ones.
Okay.
And it just occurred to me something that I didn't put on my list. Because Charlie, sometimes I think you and I worry about repeating ourselves. Like, well, we already did a show on such and such, so we shouldn't say that. But not everyone's going to watch everything we produce. So I would say my most time-saving hack is living and dying by my calendar. And I hadn't put that on the list. If I were not faithful about putting everything in my calendar, I honestly don't know what I would do. So that would be a very, very basic one that I had forgotten to put on my list. So I'm going to start with a few little ones and get up to the kind of the big rocks. So for those who do not know the One Tab extension, it's called One Tab. If you use Chrome, and I am a Chrome user, One Tab is an extension that you can put on there. And if you have 20 tabs open and you can't think straight and you don't know what to do, and your tech-savvy son looks over your shoulder and calls you insane, you can use the One Tab extension. You just click it, it collapses them all. It's in case you still think they're super important and you'll get back there eventually, it sets them away and saves them for you later. And it's the easiest thing ever to go back and open the ones that truly were important to you. But it cleans up your browser and makes it so that you can think more clearly and get more done. So
good, I like that. Yep.
That's a hack. Use a multi-stop route planner. I don't know how many road warriors we have out there right now during COVID, but most of us are inefficient and ineffective with the way we drive the city, whether it's for pop buys or for showings. A lot of MLSs have that built in for setting showings now. Do you know the ones in your jurisdictions? Do they?
That's a good question. I don't know because I'm not a road warrior.
Well, they added it, but I don't. But I've tried it and I wasn't super happy with it. I usually manually route mine. I'm really careful. I use Google Maps. I plan the whole thing out. So make sure that you're using something to route your map. And even like I say, for pop buys, you and I both as coaches recommend. Do pop buys to your 50 top clients, and then they just sort of do it so randomly that it ends up being a real time suck. So that's another one. And Road Warrior is the name of the app. Road Warrior.
Oh, okay.
An app for route mapping. Take an advanced class on using your own MLS. The MLS does so many more things than most of us know. It's like we stumbled through figuring out how to look up a house, and like close enough. But the statistical reports that it can create, the features that are built in, it could be a tremendous time savings if you would invest in taking an advanced class and using your own MLS, because there's someone in one of your markets who is telling me about particular statistical reports. I was like, man, those things of beauty. And I don't have that in mine, although I haven't taken the advanced class in mine, so how do I know?
Right.
So that's what I would say. Huge time-saving hacks. Start knowing the tools that you have, and your MLS is absolutely one of them. Your calendar, your MLS. Know how to use those damn things.
Agreed.
Do one thing at a time. This is so hard. But if you don't believe us, Google it. All the research on how multitasking isn't a thing. And then people say, no, I'm a great multitasker. And so I think let's just dispel the myth right now. The scientists who say multitasking doesn't work are being absolutely literal. And those of us who think that we're good at it, and I'm good at it, I'm not actually doing that. I'm doing what's called task switching. I'm not actually doing things completely simultaneously. And so when you task switch, even if it's rapid, it really does reduce your inefficiency. I know people who are really, really good at it, and I know people who are terrible at it. It's like they've got to be able to do one thing at a time where they can't focus at all. But those of us who think we can are hemorrhaging time by thinking we're being efficient. So I would say do the best that you can to do one thing at a time. Close your other programs. You know, if you're going to get on social and you're going to comment on the posts of your sphere of influence for 15 minutes, don't do that and something else. Put your entire sphere of influence into a list. That's what it's called on Facebook. Set a timer on your phone. And if you're tempted by a vegan recipe or political news, you know, stay here, baby, right? Know that you're sprinting flat out for 15 minutes. And if you'd like to do it longer, fine, reset the timer. But for me, if I say, oh, I'll give myself an hour, I will have wandered away and that alarm will find me on YouTube. Like I will have left the building. So do your best to stay focused on one thing at a time. Close programs, close notifications. If you have to actually turn your phone off because it chimes all the time, the task that you're on has to be important enough to be able to turn off your phone. That's going to be a huge time saver. I'm just waiting for the resistance. I can't. What if my deal burns down? You can't live that way. You cannot. You're not in the ER, you know. So you're not an emergency room physician. So I think you have to be able to do one thing at a time in order to get efficient. Hire an accountant and a bookkeeper. This may be too obvious, but if you haven't done it, I'll just tell you right now, those of you who say, yeah, but I have an accounting degree, I'm good at doing my own accounting. I think you have to ask yourself what you pay yourself per hour to do your own accounting. That's all. So if you pay your accountant $500 an hour and you're gifted, then sure, do it yourself. But it's all about the value of your time. My time-saving hack in this is to set up your QuickBooks or your waveapp.com, which is not an app on your phone, although it could be. Waveapp.com is kind of the free version of QuickBooks. And I've shared before that I'm not using WaveApp because I already set up my QuickBooks. And as much as it's costing me $300 a year, I don't want to have to change. So my QuickBooks is set up to do the bookkeeping for me, and most of it is automated. I do have to do some reconciliation. I do have to do some categorizing once in a while, but there are rules set up where most of it just goes from the bank account to the place where it belongs all by itself. And a profit and loss statement is only a few extra touches away, thanks to having that all set up. So that is a huge time saver for me, to have to go through at the end of the year a pile of receipts or every single quarter and have to do that myself would be a tremendous time suck. So set up QuickBooks or Wave app, get an accountant, get a bookkeeper. Make sure you've got the help that you need. Do you have any comments yet? I want to let you interject.
So I've been taking some notes. I think the calendar thing is a must. I give myself 5 minutes between appointments in case something's running a little bit late, but I like my appointments scheduled that close together. And if I have a half hour in between, it's very easy to get lost because you can't really get started on something significant in just 30 minutes. So 5 minutes between appointments. I mean, so this morning I had appointments scheduled. I did have 30 minutes in between. I had a gap, but then starting at 8:30, I only have 5 minutes between appointments until noon. You know, so I'm just going to knock all that out. And then I have project time, which is frankly too vague, but I have project time in my calendar every day for at least 2 hours. And then Sunday night or Monday morning, spending time figuring out, you know, what's that project for the week or that project for the day. And if you need to do that the night before, like you suggested, I think that makes a lot of sense. I keep my phone on silent at all times, 99.9% of the time, unless I am expecting a very important call from somebody that if I miss it, I won't be able to get back in touch with them, right? If you're playing the online lead game, I know you have to answer your phone, right? Most of us aren't playing the online lead game though, right? Most of us are not. Most of the people watching this show are not buying Realtor.com leads, and they have time to get back to people. And I think, you know, we've talked before about every ring and ding and vibrate having that, you know, 1 minute of distraction, 13, 14, 15 minutes to get back on track. And then suddenly at the end of the day, you're like, wow, I had a really busy day, but I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. So, just think of what you could do if you spent an hour a day for the next 5 days updating your listing presentation. It would be done.
Yeah.
It would be done. But trying to do it in little 10-minute increments here and there, I think is really hard. I was reading an article a couple weeks ago, and I probably should have saved it or sent it out. And the guy was saying to come up with like a master calendar template where on a perfect day, how would you be spending your time?
Sure.
And you put that like in a secondary calendar, and with Google, you can have as many as you want, of course. And if you find yourself off track or lost, to click that button and overlay what the perfect day would look like. And it would snap you back into reality of, oh, these are the big rocks that I should be working on, right? So I think working from a calendar, and I didn't used to be good at that, but when you have lots of, one-on-one appointments, you have to be good at your calendar, right? Or you end up missing appointments. I think condensing the appointments, if you are a road warrior, if you're using Calendly, which is frankly is another hack, right? The back and forth of trying to find a time to meet, send them a link to your calendar and let them choose. And that doesn't mean that the available time, all of your white space is available on Calendly. You can limit the time that somebody can actually book an appointment. If you're using apps like that, I think you need to remember to account for travel time. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago on the show, or I was talking to somebody about it. Otherwise, you can have an appointment, from 1 to 2, and then you've got one at 2:15, but it's 30 minutes away. You have yourself a problem. So building in your travel time in your calendar it's a hack, because a lot of people forget to do it and they find themselves having to be in 2 places at once. Phone off, calendar. You broached on it a minute ago. How much money do you make per hour? And having that number in your head throughout the day, having it up on, a whiteboard or on a piece of paper. So when you find yourself doing activities, if you work 40 hours a week and you make $400,000 a year, you make about $200 an hour. This is all rounding. It's just about. Sure, you can use a calendar and get more specific. But if you find yourself doing $15 an hour work and you look up and you see the $200 on your wall, that can be an eye-opening experience. Maybe you need some help. Or what are we not doing? Have we talked to everybody that we should be talking to before we do the $15 an hour work? So those are some of my hacks, kind of piggybacking off of yours so far.
That's great. And I want to clarify for those listening that you can have your appointments 5 minutes apart because they're on Zoom.
Correct.
You're sitting in a chair, and you're going to go next. So, but in most of the real world, for those of us who are out there doing, the mess of real estate, I think that building in travel time is absolutely vital. Charlie, I've been a little shocked to coach people who are chronically late. And I felt like it was asking something too simple to say, okay, are you estimating how long it will take you to drive over there?
Right.
Are you leaving the house? Like, are you factoring for traffic? Like, so we absolutely have to do this. I used to be the manager, the owner of our brokerage, and I managed his calendar. And when other people would get access to his calendar, I was shocked to see that they would put a listing appointment up next to his corporate meeting with the accountant. And I'm like,
there's no time to get there.
How is he going to drive to the house? Like, did this not occur to you?
Yep.
So, got to think about those things. Got to make sure that you're not
especially if you're using Calendly, because if you have a lunch booked with your title company at noon and you don't have the travel time from 11:30 to noon, somebody is going to book on using Calendly at 11:30 right till noon, and then it's a problem. So, I learned that the hard way. We all have, appointments that we need to drive to, and it's just discipline. And, using Calendly, I think, is a huge time saver, right? Sure. Some people find that it's impersonal. I just tell people, hey, to save you time and to save me time, pick a convenient time for you that, that works for both of us. I think that's much better than this back and forth over text, email, or worse, phone calls, trying to figure out a time to meet.
I think you're right, but I think for the average agent, they don't do that much appointment setting day to day. You and I, because we're coaches, we do a ton of it. And I'm not saying don't use Calendly, but I think the average agent does have a calendar problem.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Their calendar problem is with their own understanding. Like, and if it's not drive time that you have to buffer in, maybe it's prep time, right? Yep. Maybe you have scheduled a time to be at their house or scheduled a time to be on Zoom for a buyer presentation or for a listing presentation, and you haven't factored in the prep time, right? So all of those things, that's just understanding your time. I would be really, really aggressive with yourself about how much time things take. And that's one of the hacks further down on my list, actually. And that is work from a to-do list with time estimates and deadlines.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Such a huge help to me. I would write down, 20, 30, 40 items on a list, and my eyes would just cross, and I felt like I'd done my duty to write it all down. But then taking action, actually knocking those things out, became the next thing, and it just felt like procrastination. Like, I'll look at it in a minute, right? And when I started putting time estimates, the thing suddenly had life. I'd see 15 minutes next to a thing, and I'm like, well, then why didn't I do it sooner? And I would just knock that thing out. Yep. So a to-do list with time estimates and deadlines may help you with your relationship with your calendar as well.
I like that. Good.
All right. After getting an accountant, okay, hire out things like house cleaning and yard work. Maybe that's obvious. But like you said, if you're making $150 or $200 an hour, when you're productive, by the way, and Charlie, I love it that you shared the math. We're averaging it across a 40-hour week, and people say, well, I may work way more than that. Well, it's because you're working inefficiently, right? So what we want to do is assume that it's a 40-hour week, because those 40 hours were not all on dollar productive activities. Right. You do, even if you feel like you're hemorrhaging 70 hours a week, you're still not spending 40 on dollar productive activities. You're being inefficient. We all know it. So I would say look to the things that you can hire out, like house cleaning and yard work. I remember we had at our mastermind at the brokerage, every year we would celebrate what's the one thing you did best that the rest of us can learn from. What was your one thing? And I remember one year this woman said, I hired 1-800-POOP. And we're like, what? She hired somebody to pick up her dog poop. She said, I will never argue with my husband or teenagers again. It's done. It's gone. Best thing I did for my career. So that's the kind of thing. Think outside the box. How can you get some of your time back? Use a mobile car detailer. Have them come to your house. Have them come to your office. They'll take care of it. Your house will be, your car will be show ready, or at least there to make you feel sane. Yep. Give yourself the treat of having your car detailed and have it not happen on your time. Have it just happen. Pack healthy snacks in your car, fruits, nuts, lemon water. Be prepared. Don't be caught unawares. Don't be hungry. Don't be thinking that you'll just give up on your new health routine and drop by Carl's Jr. or whatever you guys have there. Keep something healthy in the car to keep you on track. That can be a time saver. Take advantage of the resources your brokerage gives you. Dear heavens, I don't know what brokerage you're at, but almost every brokerage has tools to offer you. And I remember being the head of the tools, being in charge of the tools, and having people come whining to me, if only I had such and such. And it's like, how many times do I have to tell you that you do? Yep. I emailed you, I called you, I created a flyer. I told you, we have that here. Please take advantage of it. So you probably, whatever brokerage you're at, and if you're at RE/MAX Allegiance, you have access to tremendous resources. And maybe just quickly, Charlie, we could pop off and mention a few really time-saving things that exist at RE/MAX Allegiance for your agents.
So I think number one is probably the marketing department. How many people spend a full day goofing around trying to come up with a postcard, right? They like doing it. Well, I like doing that, right? Well, have you talked to your clients in the last week? Well, no, because I don't like doing that. And I had to get this postcard out, right? So you're rationalizing the postcard's got to go out. I'm going to do that first because I like it. Yeah, I need to call my clients, but I'll get to them, later. Right. So for me, it's the marketing department, right? And even with Canva and all this other stuff that makes designing stuff easier, and we're really working hard to come up with set it and forget it programs, be it the e-newsletter, be it a client appreciation piece that goes out every month, whether you update your client list or not, right? It just goes in the mail, right? Because when I talk to people and say you need to be sending something in the mail once a month, they start to get antsy. They want to fight, right? Because they don't want to have to do it. Well, so I think systems like that, again, whether you're with Allegiance or with another company, anything that you can subscribe to that is set it and forget it, I think is a huge time save. The new class, Get It Done in 21, Eyerusalem's class. Now she's going to be grinning because we're talking about her. Learning Asana is a time hack, right? It just is. And even if it's using it in its simplest form of a place to keep your ideas, instead of emailing yourself and then you can't find that email because you have so much email, right? That right there is a time-saving hack, as simple as it sounds.
Well, back to the marketing department, because there's other things. The marketing department, listing presentation.
Yes.
Buyer presentation.
Yeah, we've got tons of stuff in the marketing department. Yep.
Newsletter that goes out every single month to your sphere of influence. Yeah.
Yep.
Incredible time savings. Yeah.
Agreed.
So what you were saying, yes, writing it down. Don't put it on the back of a receipt. Put it in one place where you can find it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Don't use scrap paper. When I first became a coach, I used to take all my notes by hand. And then in order to get paid as an independent contractor coach, you've got to put your notes somewhere, right? Or you don't get paid.
Yep.
And my mentor coach is like, you need to put the pen on the other side of the room, right? You need to be taking your notes as you go.
Right.
And because I was spending hours every week, I was running behind. I got to enter in all these calls, right? And now, I can have a pen. I have to have one in my hand, but I don't take notes on paper anymore. So keeping our notes in our CRM when we're calling people, not in a notebook, not in a scrap paper, not in the daily planner that some people still love, because then if you don't have that, you still have that, right? So you always have access to the cloud, so that's a time-saving hack right there. But anyway, back to Allegiance. I just think, the biggest plug is the marketing department, and I continue to be amazed at the number of people that continue to create their own marketing because they like it. And oftentimes, even those that like it, Amy, it looks terrible.
Okay.
What they come up with looks terrible.
Well, okay, but I have a friend who her stuff looks amazing. And she's a professional calligrapher. And everything she does looks like she paid $2,000 for it. And I think because she did with her time. Right. And so what I've said to her is, there is no question your stuff is beautiful. Right. And then she said, yes, and it makes me happy. And I'm like, I get that. Yep. It's beautiful. It's higher quality than anyone else can do. And it makes you happy. Wonderful. Like, I think you and I as coaches, we have to affirm, right? I hear you. It's your life. You get to choose.
Right.
Now, the question is, are you satisfied with where your time is going and the number of closings you have at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year? So she has had to let some of it go. So she has kept some of her special, this makes me happy, and I'm good at it. And she has delegated a lot. But we had to give her permission to keep some. But we had to get clarity. We had to get clarity around, what does that mean? Because what you said earlier, I think, is more true. It's where I'm comfortable. Yep. It's not that it's my art and I want to be able to express myself. It's where I'm comfortable. I'd rather.
Well, and the hierarchy of stuff I should be doing. I've got the calls and I've got the postcard. I like doing the postcard, so I'm going to do the postcard, and the calls are going to wait. You and I have had those conversations. Yep. And it's funny. You could almost take that a step further and say, okay, if this is something that you enjoy doing, it's now a hobby. Your hobby time is you doing this. It does not count as work.
Good point.
So how are you going to spend the additional work time that you just saved by taking that from work into hobby, right? If you like your arts and crafts and doing the postcard, fine. Do that Sunday night during your hobby time. Maybe a different perspective. They may not like the hobby as much as they did the activity, right?
Well, but I think something that's helpful in that mindset that you're talking about right there is, what is your job? Let's define your job so that we can pay attention to what is maybe outside of it. And that's when you have a simple, clear business plan that you actually feel motivated by, that will get you to the goal that you intended. And Charlie, I'm sure you have this happen too, but I had this happen the other day so strongly that I pulled up her business plan and a blank piece of paper on in Google Drive. And then, and we were going through her plan, and what did she say suddenly? Oh, she said, oh, by the way, I need your help with a template for a letter to divorce attorneys. And so I tabbed over to the blank piece of paper and I said, so this is your business plan? Like, that had nothing to do with anything we had ever talked about before.
Right.
It was not a supporting thing in her plan. So if this postcard, this, do or die postcard is the linchpin in your business plan, great, let's figure out a way to get that done. But if you're just running all over the place thinking of random ideas, get back to your plan, baby.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've talked about reviewing the plan, reading it out loud, for the first 30 days, it becoming a living document. I was talking to somebody just this morning about farming and, the cost of this. So we pull up his business plan. He wants to do like 100 deals. I believe farming was 4 deals.
Okay.
That was it.
Yep.
But FSBO was 12.
Yep.
We are talking about farming, right? And then you got FSBO, and I said something's missing, right? If these 4 deals didn't show up, that's 4%. What about the 12% here, the 30% there, the 30% there? It was like 35% past clients in Sphere, 30% online leads, one way or the other, 12% FSBOs. Those were like his top 3. That's 3/4 of your business right there. And then, some one-offs and this and that. And I'm this was a couple hours ago and I'm not remembering, perfectly clear, but it can really put things back into perspective. And you and I aren't saying that you can't change your plan, right? If you want to change your plan, but at least go through the exercise of looking over what we've already planned before we implement. Hey, I got to start doing probate. Hey, I've got to do this. Hey, I've got to do, well, what about the 40% that we're ignoring?
Right.
Or is that 40% going to become probate?
Right.
If it is, that's cool. Right. But so it's almost like trying to put a puzzle together with some of these people, almost what seems like weekly, which is not good either, obviously, the back and forth and stuff. So anyway, we are over time. Last minute, any hacks that you didn't have a chance to go over?
Well, do you want me to take a minute or do you want me to just wrap up?
Take 30 seconds.
Okay. Systems will take you everywhere. And putting the time into developing systems may feel like a time suck, but every organized agent every agent who makes it look easy is working from repeatable systems and checklists. The reason Charlie and I are emphasizing that you stick to your plan is not because something else isn't better. If something else is better, revise the plan. A plan is like a checklist. A plan helps you to be efficient and effective and keep you focused on a few things. And so that's my parting shot. Do fewer things and do them better. And delegate as much as humanly possible.
I like that. It's always good to see you. Stay safe. Have a good weekend.